Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian. It's Valentine's evening. Thanks for staying with us. Described as one of the architects of the industrial relations system of the Bahamas, former Member of Parliament and trade unionist Edward Francis Bobby Clinton was laid to rest today in a state-recognized funeral at the Christchurch Cathedral. Former governors general, prime ministers, members of parliament, cabinet ministers, and opposition members gathered to remember the legacy of Mr. Clinton, who was recognized for his dedicated service to country. Opposition leader Philip Davis remembered the former PLP member of parliament as an activist for Bahamian workers.
Unions in this country owe a great debt of gratitude to Bobby, because it was through his efforts that many of the legislative reforms to lift up the dignity of workers and work was done because of his efforts. The one particular legislative reform that perhaps caused most unions to be wealthy today, like the teachers' union, is when he caused the Parliament to amend the labor laws to introduce agency shop.
Representing the government, Minister of Transport and Local Government Renwood Wells referred to Mr. Clinton as a courageous fighter for justice and equality.
Indeed, in the throes of national infancy in the early chapters of an independent Bahamas, the courageous Bobby Clinton volunteered service to country. Those were the foundational years when it was imperative for a critical mass of citizens to take the initiative to build from near nothingness the monumental achievement that is the Bahamas today. So it is today that we need more brave men and women like Bobby Clinton to rise, to contribute, and to build this great nation. During the dawn of majority rule, Bobby Clinton served from 1966 to 1968 as Vice President of the Hotel Workers Union. He was among those Bahamian patriots and nation builders who fought for equality and for justice for all.
Mr. Clinton served in the House of Assembly as the MP for South Beach for 2 terms from 1977 to 1987. During his time as MP, Mr. Clinton was able to see the passage of amendments to the Industrial Relations Act. Also paying tribute in a statement, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Trade Union Congress, CBTUC, remembering Mr. Clinton, who rose through the ranks in the unions, starting as a busboy in the Emerald Beach Hotel and worked his way up to eventually become the Secretary General of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union and an officer of the CBTUC. He is legendary as he was a major player in the struggle for equal pay and hotel workers and the fundamental right for workers to join the union of their choice. The statement goes on to note that Mr. Clinton was a key player in the establishment of the credit union and served as an officer in the first credit union in the Bahamas. Mr. Clinton was 81 years old. May he rest in peace. The Bahamas Utility Services and Allied Workers Union, BUSUU, and the Water and Sewage Managers Union, getting support from the leader of the opposition, Philip Davis, who along with Progressive Liberal Party supporters say they stand in solidarity with the unions who are now in their 4th day of striking. And this despite the Minister of Labor referring the matter to the Industrial Tribunal. In a brief press conference this morning on the outside of the WSC headquarters on University Drive, Mr. Davis suggested that WSC's Executive Chairman Adrian Gibson cannot deal with the responsibility of a corporation of more than 400 workers. In steady numbers, union members continue to invoke their strike certificate. Assistant Commissioner of Police Lehman Delaveau is now the 3rd ACP to return to duty and the 2nd to be given a letter of deployment. ACP Delaveau is one of several high-ranking police officers who was asked to take accumulated vacation leave in March of last year. Upon his return to office yesterday, he was issued a letter signed by Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson that stated that the commissioner had decided to deploy him on special assignment to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology to assist with overall security concerns within that ministry. The letter also stated that the deployment is to take effect on Thursday, February 13th for a period of 12 months. This takes a similar pattern to a letter issued to ACP Clayton Fernander upon his return last month. He was issued a letter of deployment to the Ministry of Health, and his attorney Wayne Monroe QC noted that it's an attempt to demote ACP Fernander, whom he says does not intend to be demoted and will demand respect. Mr. Monroe now also represents ACP Delaveau and says his letter speaks to deployment to the Ministry of Health and talks specifically about special assignment to the Ministry of Education. He added that ACP Delaveau did attempt to meet with the Minister of Education yesterday. Mr. Monroe suggested that after ACP Kendall Strawn was given a letter purporting to transfer him, which he says cannot happen, when it came to ACP Fernander and now ACP Delaveau, the letter no longer speaks to transfer, but rather to special assignment. As for those security concerns, Mr. Monroe says as it stands now, police officers are outside of every public school when they go in the mornings and when they come out at the end of the school day. Mr. Monroe says once ACP Delaveau meets with the minister, he will know what he needs to do and will do what a command-level police officer does and roll out a plan to the Commissioner of Police as to how these problems at the Ministry of Education are to be addressed from a policing perspective. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.